That's the spin that the Haley campaign, of course, is putting on all this, Bev, saying that this demonstrates that there is a significant portion of the Republican electorate that does not want to see Donald Trump be president again. But the reality is she has not won any states. She is unlikely to win any states, but she says she's going to stay in this at least through the Super Tuesday primaries, which will be held on March 5th, when voters in 21 states will go to the polls in the Republican primary.
Yes, and if anything, that from what we've seen so far, it would mean that would be probably her last stand. Of course, Donald Trump is fighting so many legal issues, but would anything catch up with him in time for her to take a stand on March the 5th?
Well, I guess Haley and her supporters are waiting for that proverbial meteor to strike Donald Trump. And that's really the only thing that really could be seen as detouring the path of Trump to the nomination at the Republican National Convention. Of course, between then and the general election, it could be a different story. And what Haley has said over and over again is that some polls show that it is her, not Trump, who can beat Joe Biden in November.
Yeah. What we are seeing again, though, Steve, at the moment is the government facing another crisis, a partial shutdown potentially by Friday. What might happen on Friday? Are there negotiations to try and resolve this?
Well, there have been negotiations between Democrats and Republicans in Congress for some time. On the Senate side, they seem to have worked some things out. The problem is in the House of Representatives, where there's this internal war among different factions of the Republican Party, and the Speaker of the House really not able to control his own party, and the Democrats looking on in frustration. There's funding for some government agencies that runs out on March 1st, for others on March 8th. They could pass some legislation that sort of kicks the can down the road to April, and there's expectations that that will happen, but this problem is far from being solved.
Yeah, I believe Joe Biden has invited the new Speaker to the White House. He probably doesn't want to go the same way that his predecessor went, so will he work with Joe Biden, do you think, for a solution?
There will be cooperation to some degree, and that's the role of the Speaker of the House, is to seek some sort of compromise. The problem is there are hardliners in the party. It's an election year. They don't want to be seen as working with Democrats, or they have very strong principles on some of the issues in the budget. It is possible that we could have something passed, and it cost, again, the Speaker of the House his job.
Yeah, indeed. You know, we heard Volodymyr Zelensky again say today how critical it is that aid comes Ukraine's way. This aid that is for Ukraine that has stalled, is there any chance at all that there will be some agreement to get this through?
Probably not within the next few days. But again, another issue where we see much more unity in the Senate than in the House. The same sort of issue again, where the Republicans, according to the Democrats and the president, really need to get their act together and do this for not only the good of Ukraine, but for the good of the United States in the world.
Yeah. Steve, just before we let you go, I see that the impeachment effort against Joe Biden seems to be falling apart.
Well, of course, we have seen the key witness lose all credibility because of the charges against him by the FBI. He was the key informant to the FBI, and the FBI is now saying that basically he was lying about all this. Again, it's an election year. We're going to see both parties doing things that they might not normally do when it is not an election year. And the Republicans, most of them in Congress, who do seem to be supporting Donald Trump, are taking some cues from him. And if Donald Trump's idea is that the lawmakers should go ahead with these sort of activities. Many of them are going to continue to push for it.
Interesting. Good to see you. You've got quite the year coming up. Good. Thanks, Steve.
Yes, my pleasure, Bev.